Bruce Kingsley from BruceKModelTrains.com. Have to start off this video by apologizing that in my last video on number 2 I indicated that we were going to get more into the cosmetics of this Ultimate Throttle. But some pretty cool stuff though I've been doing instead, which we'll be going over in episode 3 of my Ultimate DCC Locomotive Throttle. First, we'll talk about some of the gauges. The speed recorder I've now created in an enclosure that looks like the old Arco speed recorder. It even goes into emulating the low speed oscillation. Additionally, when we get into the brakes, add another additional gauge for the independent brake, and had to change the logic that was in the brake pipe. So I changed the handle I used to have on the throttle and put more of a representative throttle that would have been on an F unit, including with an interlock for notching. I changed my reverser control and handle. You'll notice the sound of the pneumatics and cylinder as we go from the different positions. I made a reproduction radio, which does more than just reproduce the radio commands. We can use the headset and use a very crude voice recognition that will enable us to command different elements into our locomotive by voice command, which we'll show here in just a second. I think the biggest project that's been taking up a lot of my time has been the recreation of the automatic brake. I was fortunate to have a visitor who was a retired locomotive engineer who saw one of my YouTube videos, and he was able to come over and check out the progress on the Ultimate Throttle, and at the same time I'll say realign me on some of the items that I was specifically doing on the brakes that were wrong. And equally, I found I really needed to have the automatic brake. Though, not only was it difficult doing the mock-up, which I think came up pretty good. This is just all plastic and wood and weathered, though it has the sensors in it and has all the different functions in there. But it has all the software to interact with the independent brake that I had shown on previous videos. And because the brake does so many different things, it also makes a lot of different types of sounds. So had to do a lot of different sound recordings to make it interact with its different functionality. So some of the functions that we have on here is release, and we have running and hold. We have our lapping service. So this is how we can reduce our brake count. And then, of course, emergency. Now, of course, while we're doing this, we can get all the different pressure interactions. Okay, this is our lapping and service. Independent brake. And you can see while we're in service, the independent brake holds unless we dump. And then, of course, if we go all the way to emergency, they both interact. One of the other things that I changed was the horn. I wound up using the recordings that I made when I was in Portola on the GP9, and it's actually a little bit more difficult than I thought to go and stitch the sounds together. I think it came out really good though. And you can hear I can do both longs and short toots. And those are actually in the DCC decoder, detecting that. Wrote special software for the ECU decoder to go and make that distinction automatically.
Radio, channel 4, railroad yard, command and messages, over.
So now we're going to use this to go and add and remove cars from the train, which will equally change the physics and coupler slack and all the other items that go into it by asking dispatch.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Add a car.
Okay, she's ready to couple up.
Listen.
Okay, she's hooked up here now. Wait a second here while I try to get these hoses hooked up.
So equally, if we want to remove the car from the train.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Remove a car from the train.
Okay, I'll go and decouple one of the cars, over. Okay, she's uncoupled. Move her out.
So in this case, as we're adding and subtracting, the computer being told by the radio is adding and subtracting approximately 200,000 pounds of mass and 6 inches of coupler slack and also bearing resistance for each one of them. I'm using an average box car for all the train cars that are in the train itself. So equally, some of the interaction that I put in here just enables it to be more fun, I guess, if you mind. Our ability
to... Channel 3, railroad station, commands and messages, over.
If we're using this as a passenger car train, we would have interaction before we could, depart from the station or so forth.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Request clearance for train departure.
Okay, let me have an announcement made over the intercom of your departure, over.
If you listen. Now equally, I added randomness, so not all cases will we get clearances.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Request clearance for train departure.
Dispatch to WP 913. We need you to hold there for a second. We're waiting for another train to pull into a siding, over.
Now if we wait a while, he'll eventually come back, but if I pester him.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Requesting clearance for train departure.
Dispatch to WP 913. Continue holding.
So now we're never going to get out of here. Try it again.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Requesting clearance for train departure.
Dispatch to WP 913. That train is now cleared.
Finally.
You are now cleared for departure. I'm making an announcement over the intercom, over.
So before we leave, we got to get the all aboard.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Clear platform for departure.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions, over?
Clear platform for departure.
Okay, you can proceed to depart the station, over.
So the little beep that you heard was my software going and saying essentially, I don't understand what you just said. Now if you speak and you don't get any response, or the radio doesn't, then dispatch will come back and state that it didn't get any response from you. So equally, what do you do when you have somebody standing on the tracks in front of you?
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions? Over.
There's somebody standing on the tracks.
Okay, let me see if I can send somebody out there and get the guy off there.
So equally, even these type of scenarios are random. If the guy will leave, or if he won't leave.
Okay, it looks like he's gone now.
So in some cases, in fact, I'm going to try one more time. The guy doesn't leave.
Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions? Over.
There's somebody standing on the tracks.
Okay, let me see if I can send somebody out there and get the guy off there. Hey, this guy's not moving. Why don't you try blowing the horn, see if that gets him going?
So the dispatcher is suggesting I blow the horn.
Yeah, that did the trick. The guy's off the tracks now.
So equally, we're going to be using this for creating railroad crossing sounds as well.
Radio, channel 3, railroad station, commands and messages. Over. Yeah, this is dispatch. What is your instructions? Over.
Approaching railroad crossing.
Okay, please pass with caution.
As we pass this railroad crossing. And it's stereo, of course.
Dispatch to WP 913. You just broke protocol going through a railroad crossing without sounding your horn. Over.
So it knows that too, that I just went through a railroad crossing and I didn't blow the horn. And that railroad crossing sound changes as the speed that we're going, and its Doppler effect does too. So that's it about for part 3. I hope next time we'll be showing more cosmetics. I will tell you another item is I have found a much better camera, which I'll be sharing on the later, that I hope will enable me to actually have high quality 1080p real time. Some of the details that I have done for the cosmetics is things like the special indicators. These things are difficult to come by, so this one had to make. This is for wheel slip, and some of the old dialog indicators, and the old push buttons, and getting them all weathered and so forth. Those are all going to be part of what ultimately replaces this panel, because the ultimate is that you will have a half of an F unit cab with the seat and the controls that would be like a real one, looking out the window, and what you're seeing out the window is what's in the camera in the HO locomotive, and the locomotive will be operating based off the prototype generated by this throttle. Bruce Kingsley, see you next time.